And like you're always smiling, and I like that.
Thank you, Hassan. So we are live now.
And like you're always smiling, and I like that.
Thank you, Hassan. So tonight we are with Hassan Zeenni. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan. Thank you again for investing time in this space for such a meaningful conversation. Tonight we're going to be diving into the heart of Hajj and exploring the actual journey of the soul in the context of Hajj. Um, so I want to just go ahead and dive right in and start from the heart and ask you, as a Haji, as you mentioned, you shared with me earlier, what does the essence of Hajj mean to you personally? Like beyond the rituals, beyond the routine, the movements, what is the essence of Hajj?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think, in my opinion and my experience and what I have learned, because the Quran helps us to understand what is the Hajj is all about. It is about being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As simple as that. And if you follow all the verses, pretty much Allah keeps on saying to be mindful of me, to be mindful of me. Even to the point where you're done with Hajj, Allah is saying is to be mindful of me more than you are mindful of your own parents. And that is a very guiding verse. But I like to, for those people who haven't heard me in the past, what is spirituality? Spirituality is simple, to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I, I am one of those who advocates that there's something called active spirituality, where spirituality, not only that I am mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that is meaningful in a way that it impacts my conduct. It impacts what I say, what I think, how I behave, impacts my character. So my relationship with Allah, being mindful of Allah, whether it is the Hajj, whether it is the prayers, whether it is the fasting and Ramadan, all of them, the purpose is to connect me to my Creator in a way that He is on my mind and that impacts my behavior, my character, what I say, and what I do. So Hajj plays a big role because it is the only pillar that Allah has designed for us. And that's why it's difficult. We'll come to that later. But it is the only pillar that you give up almost everything and then you go to Hajj. You leave your family behind, your business behind, your friends. You leave everything behind. And the more important, you leave the vanities of life behind. Vanities, all the things that accumulates, especially more you are on earth, more you are influenced by the surrounding, by the culture, by the media, by the news, all these things, and by the class, and by the watch you wear, and all these, the car that you drive, or the area that you live, and all these things. I call them vanities of life. I'm not saying they're bad, but you are ready to sacrifice all of that to go and be at a place to connect with your Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's different than the prayers and the fasting where you are at home or at work in your routine, in your bubble, in your space. This one, you are leaving your space and you're going to a place that has so much to offer, but more importantly, you have the symbol of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a symbol, house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are in presence of history, you are in presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that, in my opinion, if you keep that in mind, that is the essence. Connecting to your Creator, my Creator, and having a stronger and closer relationship with Him.
You actually pinpointed two things remind me of the essence of Hajj, you mentioned being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you also mentioned disconnecting from the vanities of this world and all the distractions, right? So I feel like, in a sense, Hajj becomes this like inner mirror of our inner world, of our inner self, like what we talk about to ourselves, or that common or very famous Quranic verse or saying that says, we are, Allah is to us how we see him. And so what kind of emotional or spiritual transformations can people expect, or should they expect, when they go to Hajj after they return?
I want to separate the emotional from the spiritual. Although spiritual is the source of emotional stability, mental stability, life success. So spirituality is so powerful in my experience in life. I've been on this earth for a few decades now, and I can tell you one of the best gifts that human Homo sapiens, because the two gifts of the Homo sapiens is intellect and spirituality, not the physical. The earth is there, was already, and there's millions of years of people before us. But the gift for Homo sapiens, which is us, al-insan, is these two: the intellect with all its power and the spirituality with all its power. So spirituality is something I touched on, and I think that deserves its own. Emotional, it's very interesting how you asked it. I like that a lot. You are there with a load on your shoulders of wrong things you've done, feeling bad, feeling guilty. There are so many things, emotion that's part of that ball of emotion. And you're hoping when you go there that you put everything out. You pretty much repent, and nothing or nobody can be more welcoming to me gushing out my emotion than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the most loving, the most forgiving, all these great attributes. So emotionally, a lot of times you find us crying. You find people are tears coming down. And these are beautiful because, you know, especially for men, we don't cry often, but you find us crying like babies, because at the end of the day, you put your emotion out. You become more vulnerable, because who you're vulnerable to? Allah. And you know that he will not do you wrong. He's there to welcome you. So emotionally, that's why a lot of us, you'll find emotions are so high in Hajj, so as spirituality, but emotions is very, very high, and people are crying. And we experience that also in Ramadan. We experience sometimes in the tahajjud at night, but nothing can measure up to being at the Kaaba, being at Arafah, being in these places that Allah has designated time and place for this special occasion, where we are emotionally charged by getting ourselves vulnerable to the most compassionate, the most forgiving, and nothing can no words can measure up to such moment other than you experiencing it yourself.
That's beautifully said. Actually, before we move on to the next part of some questions that I wanted to ask, you reminded me of a question right now about emotions and like the heart. And that question is, is there a particular story or an image or a dua from the time that you went to Hajj that still kind of echoes in your heart today? And can you share that with
us? When we look at the book of dua, there are so many du'as. I personally believe the best dua that I've experienced when it came from my heart at that moment. It wasn't something that, because I know I've seen people who have books, they're reading from the books. I've seen people who do the tawaf, have a page, they're reading from the page. I've seen people who are responding to a leader who is leading and doing the dua. I personally never felt as close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I felt really in his presence, it's when it came from my heart. So the best dua I advise all of us in Hajj and other places, that you find yourself spiritual, you find yourself before an ayah of Allah, before something that impressed the soul, speak from the heart. Don't straitjacket yourself the Arabic or certain things you have to say. Let it come natural. You're speaking to your creator. It's like when you go to your mom. Can you imagine you go to your mom and you have a list you're reading to your mom? It's your mom. She's the one who brought you to life. Go to Allah. He brought you to life. Speak from the heart.
And in each section of Hajj, there's a different meaning, right? There's a spiritual meaning for Arafat, Mina, the stoning of the Jamarat. When people go to each of these parts of Hajj, what should be awakened within their soul? Like, what should they be like intentionally looking for spiritually within themselves in those specific parts?
Beautiful. In order for us to understand the essence of these acts of worship, of these rituals, it's important for us to go back to why I am here for. I am here with a mission. What is my mission? To be the agent of goodness on earth. This is my role. This is Allah told me. Your mission, because you connected to me, I gave you all this power, the spiritual and the intellectual and the gift of life. This the best thing we have is the gift of life. And I gave you the gift of this earth. Beautiful, beautiful gift that Allah has given us. So for you and for each and every one of us to be an agent of righteousness and goodness. And so this is our mission. And so this is the message. But in order for me to keep up composed and loyal to this message, I need to be continuously connected with who? With the messenger.
Yeah.
It's as if like you tell me, Hassan, I want you to go to that place, to Cuba, for example, and this is what I want you to do. You clearly defined my mission. I go there, the hustle and the bustle of life and the vanities, all these things can derail me, can distract me. So you tell me, but let's stay in touch continuously. So this way you keep me on the track of the mission. That makes sense?
Yep.
So spirituality is to be mindful of Allah so I can stay in that path. As-sirat al-mustaqim, the straight path, where I am an agent of righteousness and goodness. So I need to be continuously connected to Allah so I can fulfill that mission He had given me according to be a good and righteous person in serving His creation. So that is the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I go now in the tawaf. The essence of the tawaf, and it is why it is 7 times. Why is that just 1 time? 7 times, it's a lot. Inshallah, you will do Hajj. If you haven't, nowadays people go even on the first floor or second floor or the floor. It is not an easy with all these people. It is a tough, but it is to remind us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ought to be the center of our life, the center of guidance, the light that can light you, but it has to be a center. It can't be on the side, can't be peripheral. No. Life, you're going around a circle in life, and Allah is saying is that make me the center of influence of your life. You will be successful. You will prevail. Is it easy? It is not. You go 1 time and 2 times. Sometimes you lose sight. He's not on your mind, but you keep on trying. You keep on trying. You never give up. But the purpose, in my opinion, of course, there's other benefits. You repent and you ask Allah for forgiveness and a lot of things beautiful. But in my humble opinion, the essence is recentering Allah and His guidance to be the center of influence in your life. That will be the tawaf. A sa'i, which is, it's an amazing, because I am commemorating what our mother Hajar has done. A woman, a black woman, has done. And if I am look the essence, Allah is telling me, you to fulfill your mission and to serve my purpose that I designated to you, you have to work as hard as this lady, this Hajar. Working hard is serving, working hard in life. Nothing comes easy. You have to work hard. You have to strive. That's what she's teaching us. So the essence is, you want to serve Allah and you want to receive the help from Allah, you have to work hard. She didn't get the water Zamzam after the first stride, after the second, after the third, after the fourth, after the fifth. It took quite a bit before, because Allah wants you to use your energy, the gift that He has given you, to make things happen. And when you reach a point to have exhausted what He had given you, then He will step in and He will give you the help that is needed. But you have to do your part. That's what the sa'i, the essence, in my opinion, Allah wants us to emulate in life. Before we, because sometimes you wonder why it's 7 times. Sometimes you work a little hard and you're asking Allah for, please Allah, I need to do this, and it doesn't arrive, and you start wondering, why, what am I doing wrong? You have not done the Hajar. You have not exerted and exhausted what Allah had given you. Then you will get the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of times we lose sight of that. We shouldn't. Yeah. Then I go to Mina, where who doesn't know about satanic whispers? Who don't experience them? We all do. It's part of life. And Allah is saying is that guard yourself, be aware of it. Don't be oblivious to it. The worst thing is if you feel that you are oblivious to something, whatever it is, that take you by surprise, right? Mm-hmm. Mina, there with the stoning, is you are reminded that there's an enemy, those called satanic whispers. They come from different angles. They come from people. They come from Satan. They come from different places. They come from your own thoughts, from your nafs. Be aware of them. Guard yourself against them, because your purpose is to be a good agent who are serving the creation of Allah, taking care of the creation of Allah. That is your purpose. These satanic whispers will derail you, will distract you, will get you off. Be aware of them. Don't be oblivious to them. Yeah. And deal with them in a proactive way. That will be the essence of capturing. Be aware of those. Don't be oblivious to them, and take measures to fend yourself against those satanic whispers. And that deserves, how to do that, a different talk, inshallah. You go to Arafah. The Prophet said, Mukhul ibadah, that is in the dua. Because the salat, there's 2 types. There's salat and there's aqim as-salat. There is a salat, is the prayer. The Christians have their salat. They pray their own way. The Jews have their salat. They pray their own way. Monotheists have their own. Throughout history, Allah sent messengers that we know and we don't know throughout this earth. And there's always be the salat, not the way we pray. Because the salat connect with God. And there is aqim salah, means to do the 5 prayers. So you're in Arafah. Again, it is the place to be vulnerable. It's the place that meant to purify yourself from all the load that you have accumulated in your life, and to again, put your emotions that we talked about earlier out, and then to ask Allah for forgiveness, to ask Allah. And again, a lot of tears will come down at that day. Arafah, that's why a lot of us commemorate Arafah by fasting. How important Arafah. The Prophet said, Al-Hajj Arafah. All these rituals are important. Their essence are extremely significant, but nothing can top your vulnerability to your Creator and asking Him to purify you and to cleanse you. That is the Arafah. And then after that, you go back and then you sacrifice, and then you give to the needy and to the poor and to the help and so on and so forth. So I hope that answers in a nutshell how important the rituals, the essence of them, and how they should be impactful.
I feel like that is such a wholesome explanation, and I feel like it could even connect with the people who maybe this year or in the coming years aren't going to Hajj, or maybe they can't go in the coming years. And it begs the question of, how does or what can Hajj teach us about these things, like letting go of control, your ego, expectations, the pain from the past? I mean, those are all different parts, I feel like, of this spiritual meaning for all these major rites that we could learn from.
100%. I think you summarized it well. The beautiful, there's a Hajj, there's a Umrah. Umrah is not as intense, but still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hajj and Umrah. But I think what you might be asking is, those of us who are not as fortunate, what do we take from this momentous occasion? And every aspect of the Hajj can be emulated in our daily life. The first thing is, you gather the money has to be halal money, right? Allah said, Allah will not accept it if it was haram money. So you and I, as we go for our work, we want to do our best to make sure that the dollar that we are earning is halal. When people go around the tawaf, it's the time when I'm in my prayers, I visualize the Kaaba in front of me, and I take into that Allah becomes the central influence of my day, of my conduct, of my character, with my wife, with my husband, your husband, not my husband, your husband, with the children, with my neighbors, with my colleagues at work, right? Because Allah is center, wants me to be good. So I recenter Allah in my 5 prayers. I'm not doing the tawaf like they are, but I do. Then I remember Hajar. I go to work. I go all out in serving what I've committed to. You go to the Islamic Center, I go to the factory, you go to the school, you go to the whatever role that you play, whatever role that you are conducting, you give it your best. You exhaust all the gifts because you've committed to that space. Whether you are at work for 8 hours, wherever you are at school, wherever you are, you do the hajar. You exhaust all the gifts that Allah had given you, all the energy that is required. Then Allah will bless what you've done. Then you will find a moment or two during the day, Fajr time, late night, and you do the Arafah. You plead your case to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's closer to us than our jugular vein. No one is closer to you than your Creator. No one knows your situation than your Creator. Find a moment. Find that Arafah moment. Again, before Fajr in the morning, late night, and go to Him. Put your emotion to Him, but be grateful. A lot of times we go to Allah and we're complaining about others, or we want this or we want that, and we lose sight that it's half of the cup is full. how you say, uh, 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 be appreciative, be thankful to Allah. That's why Al-Fatiha start with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Before I need you to help me and so on and so forth, you start with what? Praising Him, thanking Him, because it's always good. Satanic whispers come to you and say, your life is miserable, everything is bad. And so, no, always remind yourself that you're very grateful to what Allah had given you. You're able to see, you're able to taste a good food, you're able to eat, you're able to get up and walk. All these are a source of gratefulness that should be before your dua. Before anything, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, express your gratefulness, thanks to Him, and then make yourself vulnerable to Him, and then He will be there for you. So those are some of the things that we can emulate, that are taken from Hajj, we can emulate in our daily life, and I believe that they will be meaningful and insightful and impactful.
MashaAllah. And I think you covered the following questions beautifully, because I was going to ask about how mothers or parents that are up late at night with their baby and maybe they want to go to Hajj, how can they connect? And you mentioned that's the most beautiful time of the night to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also mentioned how like people who might feel this time is emotionally isolating, but going and connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or going to congregation might be helpful. So I guess I will end with asking you, is there any advice that you would like to leave our listeners here today with regarding the spirit of Hajj and the essence of Hajj and what to really, really work on and look for when it comes to transforming our soul?
Nothing can beat active spirituality. I am a big believer that while I respect the gift of the mind with all its features, I believe the best gift is spiritual. Be mindful of Allah. So when I'm at Hajj, for those of you who are fortunate, inshallah, and going to Hajj, guard the distraction around you, guard the disputes around you, guard yourself from. Sometimes the environment can be hostile. Sometimes the environment can distract you. Guard yourself as much as you can and keep Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your mind. So if you see people of different colors, glorify Allah, because Allah has created diversity. If you see a bird that's flying, if you see drops of rain, if you see whatever that can connect you to the source, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connect yourself to it. And make sure that you don't leave that great opportunity without tears, without emotion, without being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, feeling as close to Him as possible. Then I believe this is the power of transformation. Is because when you say, I have a transformative moment, it is when spirituality, that I am mindful of Allah, transformed the moment. I hold my anger here. I hold my revenge here. I'm able to be generous and compassionate here. Why? Because I'm connecting to the source. And that is called active spirituality. And that is the transformative power, is when you are mindful of Allah and you are at-taqwa. What is at-taqwa? You are conscious, God conscious. And that means you are conscious of your thoughts. You're conscious of the moment. You're conscious of the satanic whispers coming. You're conscious of those who are trying to antagonize you and trying to push your button. You are because of Him, because your connection to Him, because He is present in your heart and in your mind, you are able to transform the moment that can be negative into positive. That is the transformative power that spirituality can offer you. And Hajj is the best place to bask yourself in that experience and walk out cleansed, purified, emotionally charged, but more importantly, Allah is in your mind, in your heart, and He will touch your soul.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much again, Hassan, for investing in this space this evening. And to our listeners, if you want more engaging conversations, please join us next Thursday. Next Thursday, we'll have Sheikh Asim Buyuksoy, who's going to go ahead and dive deeper into the rituals and religiosity portion of Hajj. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.